What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and we feature a beer of the week typically. I am Matt. With me is Lauren, and we are talking today with Ryan Curtis, who has done some special effects for one of our favorite shows, Supernatural. We're going to chat about that here in the second half of the episode, where we'll have a beer of the week for you. But for now, go ahead, go to social media, Hops Geek News on any podcasting platform, any social media platform. That's where you can find us. Like, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. Help the podcast grow. And if you're looking for us, we're going to be at GalaxyCon Richmond and AwesomeCon in DC coming up here in March. We just wrapped up MegaCon, had a lot of good time. So head to our YouTube channel. Make sure you check out all of our fun content, our panels, our just coverage in general. Lauren's been killing it with the video. So head there. And like I said, it's a going for you. So if this is your first time joining us, hey, we always start off with what we're drinking, which today it's morning when we're recording this first half of the episode. So we're probably drinking coffee. I got water. And other than that, we go into what we've messed up into, looked into, what we're reading or watching, and some news before the main topics. So, Lauren, are you drinking coffee, I presume?
I am drinking coffee. How did you know?
That's because it's morning. I'm getting sick finally, like a week after the con. I'm like actually sick and I feel like shit. It's hit me the past couple of days. Like I got a cold or something like that. It's not COVID, I don't think, but who knows these days.
Well, I made it through the con feeling fine, and then my kids have both had runny noses like on Thursday and Friday, and now I think I'm getting it. So thanks, kids. But I think we got through the con fine.
I think we did too. I'm just wicked congested and like my chest hurts kind of, and I'm really tired.
I think I just have congestion.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. It's raining here, so maybe the rain's not helping it, knocking all that stuff. I don't know, man. I don't know how to do any of this.
We're not doctors.
I'm not a doctor. I just pretend to play one.
Yep, Dr. Sexy.
All right. Well, we haven't messed up or looked into anything. Been about a week break since we recorded last because we were at MegaCon, so we didn't have a chance to really record anything. If you want, go back and check out all of our previous episodes. However, what I have been reading or watching lately, some of my comic book reviews for Nerd Initiative this week were How to Lose a Guy Gardner in 10 Days, which is a Valentine's Day special. It's about 8 issues or 8 different stories within this big issue. Our friend Kenny Porter, who famously wrote The Schlub, and he's done, Nightwing and Superboy, I should say, not Nightwing, I'm sorry. He had the opening which is about Guy Gardner, and it was really cool. You have the Flash trying to perfect his very first day with Iris. You have Wonder Woman, who everybody's kind of after her, right? She's a female superhero, so everybody's kind of like trying to get her love in that one. You have like Nightwing and Barbara Gordon, a story about them. Then, of course, Guy Gardner's the leadoff story. So it's fun. It's a collection. I love romantic comedies. So go ahead, check that out.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, it's true. I also read Mace Windu issue number 1 from Marvel, which Mark Bernardin, who is the writer on this. It's about Mace Windu, of course, and it takes place during the Clone Wars. He's got a special mission going on. They're trying to recover some coaxium that was stolen and being sold. Yes, every time I read
coaxium last week at Disney.
We did. Me, you, Sean, and Sam recovered some coaxium for the Resistance. Whereas in this one, they're trying to prevent coaxium from being sold to the Separatists, which every time I hear coaxium, I just hear it in Hondo's voice. So as I'm reading the comic, all I hear is coaxium, or I can't do Hondo's voice, but you know how it goes.
Yeah, I can hear it in my head too.
That's what I was hearing. We watched The Marvels again, which I think is super severely underrated, and people are finally paying attention that it's a good movie. I saw some people.
Fun.
It is. Like, people were complaining about the whole musical sequence, and I'm like, dude, what? That was like my favorite part.
Okay, so the musical sequence is a bit silly, but they're making fun of it while it's happening, so I feel like that makes it like okay. Because you got Monica and Kamala are just like, is this really happening? And then they're like, you should be dancing. She's like, I am dancing. So it's like they're making fun of it too. So I feel like that makes the whole.
Oh yeah, it's very fourth wall.
Better.
Like, yeah, they were very much like, what's going on?
Aware.
And Carol's like, just go with it, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I like it. Brielle started watching it, so I fell asleep last night. I was exhausted. We did the ale line, and then like as the night went on, I'm like, I think I'm getting what the kids had. So this morning we're playing, is it Hangover or is it Sick?
Our favorite game to play last Sunday. It was definitely Hangover for me.
Yeah. Well, today's Super Bowl Sunday, so after this, I'm just gonna relax with a book on the couch and then watch the Deadpool 3 trailer.
I gotta
But
do laundry and then put myself through that stupid Super Bowl, but
I
I
already
did
have
watch
laundry going
something that was very good. I did watch
on. What
Lisa
is that?
Frankenstein. I went and saw
Ooh,
that Friday. It's got Cole Sprouse playing the creature. It's got Catherine Newton, famously of you know her from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and she's been in a ton
and
of other things.
Supernatural.
Yes. And so she plays Lisa. It's basically a dark comedy that if John Hughes and Tim Burton had a baby, this is the result.
Okay, that's
And
awesome.
I did see somebody the review was, "It's your typical rom-com." No, no, it's not. This is not like a romantic comedy. It's very well, I guess it could be in a way it is. It's kind of like an Edward Scissorhands type romantic comedy, I guess, if you look at it that way, but it's very much like a dark comedy because my romantic comedies don't typically have people dying in them, of murder and things, which murder happens. She I don't want to spoil it, but it's very good.
Yeah,
It's
I definitely
very
wanna see it.
artsy. It's very goofy. The humor works for me. The 80s vibe works for me. Catherine Newton stands out. She's absolutely fantastic in this movie. Just the way
Yeah, she's a great
yeah.
actress.
She reminds me of what was Tim
Girl from
Burton's
Totally Killer? Oh.
no, Tim Burton's wife who was Bellatrix Lestrange, and she was
Oh,
in
yeah,
all
yeah,
his
yeah, she's
movies.
in yeah, Fight Club.
She reminds me of, like, a younger version of her, whose name I don't know why I am blanking on her name because she's in so many movies, but her acting in this
Tim
movie
Burton's wife, I don't know.
well, they got divorced, I think, so it's not his wife anymore,
Oh,
but
Tim Burton's ex-wife?
yeah, she's very much kinda gives me those vibes, and Cole Sprouse was great too. It was very much I didn't know what to expect because I never really watched a trailer, but I was came out really pleasantly surprised. My review is up on Nerd Initiative. I wrote a review of the movie if you wanna go read it, but I highly recommend you go to see this, man. It's not your typical movie, and, for people that are complaining that all movies are the same now, this is very much not that, so if you wanna get more of this, go see it.
Nice.
Um, what have you been getting up to this week?
So my comic book reviews for this week were one was Wolverine Madripoor Nights. And it takes place right after the Uncanny X-Men 280 or 268. And if that does not sound familiar, it is the issue where Natasha has got that ass and they have her positioned looking out over, like, the cover. This was fantastic. It's going to be just a short run. And I think it's great for anybody who hasn't read any comics about Madripoor because we're now seeing Madripoor in the MCU. Um, Obviously, I have a soft spot in my heart for Wolverine, but it was so much fun. The art was great from beginning to end. They're basically supposed to be celebrating something that they did in the last comic. And of course, chaos ensues. You have the Hand comes in and, Captain America shows up. And basically, by the end, it's like, okay, now we need to go do this. So if you've never read any Madripoor comics, highly recommend getting on this. Again, it's Knights with a K because, they're the Knights of Madripoor. Fantastic read. Absolutely love this and so excited to read more of it. The other comic I reviewed this week for Nerd Initiative was Count Crowley, and that is by David Desmalchian, who you also might know
Oh,
from
yeah, he's
Ant-Man.
awesome.
Yeah, so this one's it's a monster hunter. So he's done other different ones before that are all connected. It was like, reluctant monster hunter, and now we're on to amateur monster hunter. And it's exactly what it sounds like, a monster hunter. But this one woman who's the main character is also in AA, and her, best friend or her close friend who is also a monster recently was killed by another monster hunter, and this guy seems like he's worse than this other guy, but something big's coming and they don't know what's coming. And it's very campy and it's a lot of fun, and it's it's funny too. So, you get to chop off some monsters heads. Who doesn't want to do that? And it's funny. And the only thing I've watched this week other than the beginning of the Marvels is Griselda. Have you heard of this on Netflix?
I have. I've seen it pop up on, like, new or whatever, but I don't know a
So
thing about it.
did you ever watch the documentary years ago called Cocaine Cowboys about like the cocaine industry in Miami back in the
The
day?
documentaries that I watch are, like, war documentaries because 'cause I'm a very
Okay.
old man.
Well, I've always been very interested in the whole mafia kind of stuff and whatnot. And so the creators of Narcos have now done one on the godmother from Miami, which I remember hearing about her, like, because the first time I heard about her was in the documentary Cocaine Cowboys. So now they're actually telling her story, and it's very interesting. I'm not done yet. I think there's 6 or 7 episodes. I'm not certain, but Sophia Bush is actually playing her, and it took me a
Oh,
second because they gave her like a prostitute. She's drop dead gorgeous, so they
yeah.
did something to make her not look as drop dead gorgeous, like she has some prosthetic or something to make her look more like the actual person. But what's really interesting that I love about it is so Pablo Escobar, it starts with a quote. He said, "The only man I was ever scared of was not a man." And he's referring, as Griselda. And it was like the level of scary a woman has to get to make it in that industry is
Right.
absolutely terrifying, the extreme she would go to. But what's really interesting is watching this and seeing her. I'm like rooting for her because these guys are such dicks to her. And it's like I find myself rooting for this, criminal murderer person. But I'm loving it. If you liked Narcos, definitely go watch Griselda. So that's
Nice.
what I've been reading or watching.
Well, let's go into some news. What are some news that you have this week?
News. What news do I have? Moana 2 is coming to theaters this year.
Which kind of
Uh,
snuck up, I feel like, didn't it? It like there were rumors of it going to be a TV series, I thought, and now all of a sudden it's a movie coming out this fall.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of this stuff we see, and then I have no idea. But the Marvels we just said is on Disney Plus. Also, the making of the Marvels is on Disney Plus if you like watching those. Jurassic World 4 is coming out July 2nd,
Do
and
we need
Beetlejuice.
another Jurassic World? Can we talk about this real quick?
I mean,
Is
we'll
this
all
something
go.
you're excited for?
No.
The last one was just terrible. It was about locusts. It wasn't even about dinosaurs. And they brought the cast back and they wasted them completely. And they've sucked the fun, in my opinion. Like, I don't want to be that this sucks person, but they've really sucked the fun out of this franchise.
I don't know. I'm indifferent to it all. I mean, the first one will always be classic and amazing on its own, and that will always be, Kaylee's first favorite movie. My last piece of news is Beetlejuice 2 will be out September 6th, which I
Ooh,
am
this I'm
excited for that.
excited for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am
Perfect
excited for this
Halloween
one.
kickoff.
Which I'm kind of surprised that they didn't put Lisa Frankenstein out around the Halloween time because I feel like this and Beetlejuice would have been like the
Yeah.
classics for Halloween.
Well, and I
But
think those things do better when they're released in during the
oh,
Halloween
agreed.
season.
I think Lisa Frankenstein's going to find its audience closer to that time, but I'm excited for Beetlejuice too. I'm wondering if we'll get a trailer for the Super Bowl. I know we're going to be getting a Deadpool 3 trailer, which we'll talk about coming up soon because that's supposedly a 2.5 minute long trailer coming out. But some news that I have is that Pedro Pascal has been confirmed to be Mr. Fantastic by the SAG-AFTRA, and Matt Shackman shared it. So he's the director coming up of Fantastic Four. No idea when the rest of the cast is going to be announced or what's going on there. Uh, that maybe they're waiting for a big Marvel moment. Who knows? Percy
San
Jackson.
Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah. I mean, but it's weird because it's supposed to be coming out next year. So you would think that they would be,
I don't know. They've been super weird about Fantastic Four, I feel like.
they really have been super weird about it. And Blade's never going to come out at this point. So you know what? Aside from that, we've been getting a lot of Daredevil, a
Maybe because he's
lot of Dare.
Cottonmouth.
That's true. But seriously, have you like the amount of Daredevil leaks people are just like
I'm
filming
just
the
trying to
set?
ignore them all.
I'm
Such
trying to as well.
shitty.
It's just they're
Why does
never
anybody even
gonna.
want to see them? Like, who wants to see these leaks?
Everybody's a scooper these days. You know, people got to scoop, scoop, scoop so they can get out
You
there.
saw it
But
here first. So now
yeah,
this moment will be ruined for you when you watch it.
forever. Well,
Bastages.
Percy Jackson's confirmed for season 2. I'm excited about that one. No surprise there. It was like the most streamed Disney Plus show
Yeah, I'm
or
not
something
surprised
like
at all.
that. Taylor Swift, Eras Tour is coming to Disney Plus on March 15th with 5 bonus songs. You know
Oh
I'm
god.
excited for
I have
that.
some friends who are losing their mind over that.
I'm excited. Disney paid $75 million for this, by the way.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. That's how much it's absolutely insane. But hey, dude, I'm excited. And then Goosebumps season 2 has been confirmed as well, which I'm excited for because that was a severely slept on show. I thought it was
I
pretty
still need to watch
solid.
it next
Yeah, no,
Halloween.
it was a really good show. I'm a big Goosebumps fan, and the way they incorporated Goosebumps. Justin Long was great in it, for example. And then we also have Millie Alcock has been cast as Supergirl. You know her from House of Dragon. She is our Supergirl. They're going to be
Killed it in House
filming.
of Dragon.
Yes, I think they're actually going to be doing a table read starting next week in Atlanta before they start filming this movie. So things are moving there. The Acolyte has been confirmed to release in summer of 2024. That is set in the High Republic era of Star Wars, the Jedi, the Sith. This is going to be my entire personality for the summer, because also May the 4th is going to be the re-release in theaters of Phantom Menace. And I think we're going to be coming upon some really strong prequel revisionist history here. I think people are going to start appreciating the prequels a bit more. There's a lot of prequel hate. Me,
Did,
I love the prequels, man. I'm a
did
diehard.
you
I
see
was
that interview with Ewan McGregor right after MegaCon?
No, I did not. It was on Kimmel.
Yeah. So he was asking him about that, and Kimmel made a comment about, like, for a while you didn't even want to talk about Star Wars, and he said, well, what's changed? He goes, if people change their mind, and he goes, no, I think it was the people who saw this movie as children are now grown-ups, and they like the movie as children, and now that they're grown-ups and have grown-up money and grown-up voices, people are listening to them. And he's like, and it's been so nice, getting to hear good things about these movies when in the past they had really only heard bad things. So I
Right.
thought that was, very interesting. And George Lucas has always said, these are movies for kids.
They are. And like, dude, I love these movies, man. I Revenge of the Sith is my all-time favorite Star Wars movie, besides like of the trilogies, all the different trilogies. And like Jake Lloyd, Ahmed Best, they got a lot of hate. And so I am really excited to come back. I kind of hope they bring back like the Pepsi cans that had all the characters on them.
Oh,
Like
gee.
give me the Taco Bell line, like all that stuff again. But I'm
I
excited.
remember Taco Bell being covered.
It's Star Wars, man. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be weird. It's supposed to be out there. And yeah, man, the prequels are they're bomb. They're bitching, dude. Go revisit these, especially in theaters. I'm going to be there. My last bit of news though is Knuckles is coming out, 6 episode series, Paramount Plus, April 26th. Idris Elba is playing Knuckles. And yeah, that's all we got. Now we're going to go ahead and go into our main topic when we will be back in just a moment to talk with Ryan Curtis. You know him previously on our show because he came on for Slums of Empire City. And then also he did some visual effects work for Supernatural. So we're going to chat that. We'll be back in just a moment. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Like I said, we have a really good guest today, a returning guest. Our friend Ryan Curtis is back to join us. He is going to give us an update on his comic book Slums of Empire City, as well as discuss some season 8 of Supernatural because he works some special effects behind the scenes. Like we kind of talked about in our episode a long time ago. We'll link that one specifically in the bio if you want to go and read and listen to his comic, Slums of Empire City, because he has some really exciting things going on there. As always, I am drinking for this part of the episode a Cosmic Cowboy from Eiley
But not what
Brewing
you would
Company.
think.
It's not. It's not. I drank the 2 family business that Lauren gave me, and I should have saved it for a good day. I should have rated her. Actually, I should have took some from your fridge last weekend, but it's fine. I wasn't thinking. I also wasn't going to steal your beer, but this is from Eiley Brewing Company, and it is in Virginia. It's Cosmic Cowboy, a hazy wheat IPA coming in at 8.7%. And it doesn't give me much more information than that. It's a really good beer. There it is. Lauren, why don't you go ahead? What are you drinking?
I am drinking a fantastic stout from Family Business Beer Company called Grackle. It's a fantastic stout in a 12-ounce can, which I love so much
Ooh,
because so many
yeah.
stouts are like so heavy and then so big. But this one is like so easy drinking, but it's also nice and light at the same time. And if only the font on this ABV were a little bit bigger, I could read what it says. It's either
Oh my
5.9
gosh.
or 8.9. I think it's 5.9. I might
Burial
have to look
actually.
on it. I might have to look on Untapped or get a higher reading glasses prescription.
Oh boy. All right.
My
Well, while
readers
Lauren
ain't
goes to
working.
the eye doctors, Burial actually does really good stouts in their 12-ounce cans, which I really appreciate too. But
Well, they barrel aged this one recently too. The barrel aged was phenomenal. Fortunately, my cousin didn't like it, so she gave me her bottle because they were all on Tavor not long ago. Because I haven't been to the brewery in
was
over
it
2 years.
Tabby? Tabby gave it
It
away?
was Tabby, yeah.
Tabby, you could have given it to me. I would have appreciated it too.
So
Just
yeah, I
kidding.
only got back on Tavor. I fell off the Tavor wagon because of family business, and now I think I'm down to 1 Grackle and 1 Soup Juice. So I might have to hop back on there.
Ooh.
My
I, for
Well,
husband's
one,
would
have
be
never
none
been
too
to
pleased.
family. I've never been to family brewing.
oh,
It
really?
I
exceeded my
know.
expectations. I will honestly say, like, when I first found out, Jensen had a brewery and obviously the beer made it into the show, as soon as they said Cosmic Cowboy, a local beer from Austin, I instantly went to Untapped, and it was a little below average at the time rating for an IPA. So when I went, I thought like, oh, it's just really popular because of the show. But then every beer was like, oh, this is a solid IPA. This is a solid Pilsner. This is a solid stout. And then I was talking to somebody at a bottle shop the next day, and I had mentioned it, and they're like, yeah, every time I have their beer, it gets better. So I think it's just that's very common for a brewery, and
Mhm.
they just had some growing pains and had to fix the formula and everything. But I mean, every beer I've ordered from Tabor was phenomenal, and every beer I had there was I mean, it did get the supernatural bump. I'm not gonna lie, but the brewery is
No, but
also
their beer is
gorgeous.
literally good. No, because you've given me their beer, and no, it's really good beer. I mean, you
Yeah.
can tell there's a lot of like love and flavor and passion put in behind it, and it goes. It's one of those breweries that's more than just the brand and behind the name. So for sure, but
Well, and we don't have breweries like that in Florida outside of like Swamp Head and Gainesville. Like it's gorgeous. It's on a huge property. Like, in Florida, there's no space for that.
no, not at all. But anyways, let's talk to our friend Ryan. Welcome back
Hi.
to the
Oh my
show.
God. Thank you so much. Thank you for
It's
having me.
it's been a while, man. Let's get an update first on your comic. But before we get there, you got to
Hmm.
let us know. I know you showed us two amazing cans. So what are you starting off
Mm.
drinking right now?
This is it's called 20 pounder. It's a double IPA from Driftwood, which is here in Vancouver.
Yeah,
Driftwood does some amazing beers. They do some really, really tasty ones. And this is so cool looking that I had to pick it up. And it's so delicious that I'll probably pick it up again.
yeah. The can is
Nice.
awesome. I'm a sucker for
Hmm.
can art, and
Me
that
too.
can is awesome. Canada low key has some really good brews. I don't think
Oh, yeah.
people
Oh,
really
yeah.
realize that Canada is doing really well beer wise. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've had some of their
Well,
beers primarily in the Toronto area,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
and the girl
it's
who
amazing,
runs
and I think it's sort of it seems universal, at least sort of North American wide, that people are
yeah,
just making some really amazing beers. I was in Scotland, I don't know, God, how long? 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, and not so good, not the
yeah,
best. Like their regular stuff. I went to Brew Dogs, and they were good, but they felt like the only small brewery that was they weren't even small, but like somebody who was doing proper craft beer in the North
right.
American style. Most of the beer over in Scotland at least was very watered down. It's like, oh, it's a good beer. Where's the rest of it?
it's like that's
Right.
great. There's a hint of flavor, but
Well, even if you have like an English IPA, it's very low ABV IPA. But I
Hmm.
mean, if it weren't for beer in Europe, we wouldn't have craft beer because, our beer was so bad before. So, I did look my beer up on Untapped. It's 8.9%, not
Ooh,
5.9%. So,
nice.
which
it
makes
is
sense
all
because it says
right.
Imperial Stout.
Well, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and give us an update? Last time we talked to you, we read and discussed the first couple issues of Sons of Empire City. Since then, you've had 3 issues come out, with the 5th one coming
There it
out
is.
tomorrow, right?
Yes, we got a brand new one coming out on February 9th, which will be issue 5 of Slums of the Empire City. So, I keep playing them episodes. It's just stuck in my brain.
Where's the
Issue
habit?
4, 5, and 6 are completed and are released. 6 will be out next month. Um, they're digital only releases, so we're just putting them out on Global Comics. So head over
Okay.
to Global Comics and read them there. It's a really nice interface, and it's just so easy to use, and the guys are so friendly. Really proud to have our stuff over there, and it's been great. And it would be nice to get more followers and feedback and conversations, but it's tough to get readers. So thank you for having me on and talk about the comic books, because they've been a labor of love. The last two, well, actually, these three, we sort of shift slightly. So the first three were following Sadie the goat on her adventures
Yeah.
around the July 4th area. This one, we're following a guy named Dutch Herman at the same time period. So they're sort of overlapping stories. Um,
Mm,
and we see sort of like the alternate side to that day from a different point of view, and you kind of have a few intersections here and there. So that's fun, and it's based on a real person. Dutch Herman was this safe cracker, this roguish safe cracker in New York at the time, and he was arrested, 50 times, and his brother went to jail, and there's all these folklore, and we actually have a photograph of the actual guy because he was in the rogues gallery that the New York police made. So it's fun to try to dig up all this old history and weave it into a fun narrative. So.
Yeah. It
that's
was
awesome.
one thing I really appreciate about the comic too is like the art was excellent. It's one of those things that like it has a realistic vibe to it. There's a lot of detail, a lot of colors and things like that. And then for like a period piece, you really nail the language. You know, it's one thing like there is no stone left unturned what you guys were doing. And that's
Oh
one thing
yeah.
that I love for the comic. There's a lot of research that went in behind this stories, and it's all based on true stories and things like that. And so I really, really love that as a history nerd.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, me too. That's the funnest part is like going through all these old newspapers, and you can get sidetracked if you go back and read a newspaper from the time. The stories that they write are just bananas. Like the
Yeah.
editorial comment on all this, you know, legitimate journalism is hilarious, and would just write about it, what felt like very small town things, like somebody stealing thread from the local tailors, and the police are on the case, and these kind of levels of journalism were really fun and gave you a really visceral look into what it was like being there at the time. So when you're doing research and going through these, there's so many wonderful stories that I'd love to pull. I have a whole folder filled with snippets of these weird and wacky characters. So just pulling those together and putting them into one big story is a lot of fun. The language stuff is tough. I didn't want it to be too over the top as far as um, you know language from the day, because I think a lot of that can get lost for a reader. I wanted to try and keep it simple so that you didn't have to live in the 1800s to understand what
Right.
they're saying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, it's great. And then your next issue comes out in the past. So are people able to purchase this issue still? Is it up for just like a limited amount of time, or is this something that is going to be up there? Everybody can kind of go back, read the runs, and catch up.
Yeah, I'm leaving them. They're all there on Global Comics. People can go and have a read. If you want to wait when we're done, I think 10 issues. They're all going to be compiled into one solid book that we can put out in stores. But
Oh, that's
it's
awesome.
it's it's so hard to distribute, especially a floppy, just because it's only worth so much, and to
Well,
get it from
comics in
point A to
general is
B costs a
extreme.
fortune.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
so hard
shipping is
to
insane.
Hmm.
comics has kind of like a marketing crisis almost right now because like there's a lot of really good stories. There's so many good stories that are out there today that aren't superheroes. And I think the biggest thing that's hurting necessarily is a lot of people feel as though superheroes is what comics are. Like they think comic books, they think superheroes. That's not the case. We have seen so many good stories, such as one taking place in New York City, set in the past that is fantastic. Or there's been other ones coming from like the bigger names, right? But superheroes are not comic books. There's so many good stories that are not just superheroes, and I think that once we figure out a way to break that stereotype, people might start paying attention a little bit more.
Right. Well, and that stereotype started because it didn't used to be like that. Like girls and boys equally read comic books, and there were so many different genres. And go back and read a comic book documentary, and they talk about how they just started targeting boys, and that's when they went full
Hmm.
superhero. But hey, girls
Right.
like superheroes too. But I
It's
mean,
true.
we doing this podcast and interviewing people like you as far as independent creators, we've met so many come across so many amazing stories, and even the superhero independent ones we've come across, it's been such unique takes that I never saw
Hmm.
coming. But in doing this, because you said you had Sadie the first three, now you're doing another person, are you going to be focusing on another character before you wrap up the 10 issue run?
Yes, Walt Whitman.
Walt Whitman.
Ooh.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fun.
the next three episodes are all Walt Whitman's point of view. Who, spoilers? He's, well, not spoilers, but I'll give you a little tease. He's hired by a rich family to try to find their child, a kid named Charlie Ross, who was kidnapped. Um, Charlie Ross is a real kid that was kidnapped, and they sort of say it was the first kidnapping case that made national headlines. Um, and so the family begs Walt to go to New York to try to help find this little kid, because Walt had a background in investigative journalism and is quite familiar with New York. And the family sort of alludes to they want him because the polite way of saying, sort of travels in different circles, i.e., homosexual.
Yeah.
Ah,
Or that's the assumption at the time. So they,
right.
for some reason, think that he's going to know people, and obviously he doesn't know people, but he
Mhm.
does. He goes along with it anyway. So he goes to New York. We sort of touch on Walt Whitman's prejudice towards Irish people, which if you go back and sort of look at his work, he really softens on the Irish immigrant over time. But in his earlier days, he's very bullish against the Irish. He thinks they're terrible people and says a whole bunch of terrible things. And then as he gets older, he comes to understand, the plight of the immigrant and what they've gone through and where they're coming from, and why things are the way that they are for those people. So sort of shoehorning our story into that, as he meets Sadie's family and sort of starts to understand the Irish a little bit better.
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was one of my favorite things about reading your comic, because it's been, I think, a year and a half since we had you on, but I remember loving the historical
I actually still have
accuracies
the
mixed in with
hardcover.
the fiction.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
still, when I just moved to Virginia, and when I was putting all my comics out of the boxes and kind of like trying to get them set up, I actually pulled the issues of Slums of Empire City out, and I was like, "Oh, dude!" And
That's so
it was just one of
cool.
those funny things. Like I still got the copies of the first couple of issues, and
That's awesome. Thank you.
um, it's exciting, man. So I hope people take the time to go and read these. They're fun. If you love history, if you
So good.
love adventure, yeah, they're there. The art is amazing. The writing is even better. Don't let us sit here and just tell you how amazing it is. I want you to go find out for yourself. So in the link of this episode, go ahead, follow that
Beautiful.
link. You can go ahead and check all of Ryan's work out. But we also are going to bridge that now into some Supernatural chat. So I've been going through, as everybody knows, watching Supernatural, and Ryan actually did some work for the visual effects. So Ryan, what all did you work on within the Supernatural realm? We'll start there to kind of get some background into you and your amazing works, because you didn't just work on Supernatural, you worked on a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah. Since then, well, before then, but also since then, yeah. I came onto that show as, I think it was called an on-set visual effects coordinator. I think we called it, which meant that I was assisting the supervisor, the visual effects supervisor, in shooting all of the cool scenes that needed to have visual effects in them. So what a supervisor will do when you're on set is, first there's planning for weeks on end, for an episode. So when the episode says, okay, and then Dean stabs the demon and the demon fritzes out and then dies, that becomes a visual effect. The stabbing, probably the demon fritzing out, and then maybe even the death, depending on what's happening. So then we need to break that down and say, okay, well, stabbing, what do we need? We need this special knife that's got a plunger on it so that he can actually stab the guy. Or do we need a real knife and we don't see the stab that happens? Or do we need a rubber knife? Or do we need blood on the knife? So there's a million sort of things that have to happen and conversations that have to happen. And then you go through that and you plan, and then you get there on the day to shoot it. You've already had your conversations with the director and the first ADs and the stunt coordinators and the special effects coordinators and the props department as to all those things that you need. And then you talk to the actors because they should know, and then say, oh, demon guy who's just here for the day, this is what happens when a demon gets stabbed, and they light up from the inside, and it's, comes from their chest, and we see it through their face. So it sort of feels like being shocked when you're stabbed. You sort of get shocked and then you fall down and you're dead. And you keep your mouth open, keep your eyes open so we can see them and make them glow, and
Oh.
then fall over and die. And when he stabs you, this is the knife that he's going to use, and it's got a plungery thing. And then the stunt coordinator would walk them through that, probably give them padding, and then stab. And then they practice that a few times. And then if it's a stunt person, then they've done it a million times. If it's just a day player actor, he'll put in a pad for them to fall onto and that sort of stuff. And then they do that, and that's step one. We've
All
shot
that
it.
just for step one.
Yeah. And then step two is they actually edit the entire episode together. So we shoot for, on that show, was 8 days. So 8 days of at least 12 hours a day
Wow.
of shooting. And then an editor takes all of that footage and condenses it down to 42 minutes. So it could be that that thing that we planned for and prepped for and shot doesn't even make it into the movie, right? I mean, we call it a movie, into the TV show. Cutting room floor, you've heard that term before. So if it does, then we need to look at it, and then we sit with the post-production supervisor in the States. Usually I think he was in LA, and the director sometimes, and a supervising producer like Phil Segrisha or somebody like that. We look at the shots and we say, okay, great, this is exactly how we planned it, no problems. Or, ooh, actually, when this guy gets shot, we did a take where he did this thing and fell over. Let's use that if you guys are okay with it. They say, yep, okay, great. They send us the individual shots. So in that scenario that I've just aligned, there might be a shot of Dean pulls out a knife and we see a close up of the knife. And maybe it's not the real knife. Maybe it's the knife with the fake springy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we need to put a blade in there in visual effects. So that's one shot. The second shot would be, maybe there's a close up of the knife getting stabbed in. We need to add a blade to that. That's the second shot. Third shot is the demon fritzing out, doing his thing. And then the fourth shot, maybe he falls out of frame and we're on Dean, and Dean still has the knife. There's another one. So there's 4 separate visual effects shots that we need to take. We bring them into our system. We hand them out to the artists. On Supernatural specifically, we had artists that worked in-house. So there was actually 10 visual effects artists right there. We were actually in trailers right outside the shooting stage. We had these big, long, construction type trailers. And then they would just get busy and they would add in a blade. Me on set, my job would be to say it was a special knife and we had the real knife. I would make sure that they get a shot with the real knife so that we can literally Photoshop the blade from that and put it into the shot. That's quite literally what we do. Then we go through iterations, and so that's step 2. Step 3 is actually approving the shot. So every day we would sit down and look at all the work that the artists have handed in for the day. That needs to change. We need to do this, add more light here, add more glow, add, this needs to go longer. It's not going to the sound, that sort of thing. And review that. There's a big back and forth process that happens. A shot might go back and forth 4 or 5 times. Then, okay, it's final. And then step 4 is we actually package all those up and then deliver them back to editorial, who then cuts them in the movie. So that's visual effects in a nutshell.
So when you said 8 days, but you said you
Yeah.
plan weeks ahead of time as well. So from beginning to end, how long is that amount of time on average for an episode?
I think we had 2 weeks per episode in post to do the shots.
Wow.
That sounds about right. So yeah, there's about, I think, 7 days of prep, 8 days of shooting, 2 weeks in post.
So do any of you
Sometimes
see
longer.
family or friends while you're filming this?
Yeah, it's rare. I mean, 12-hour days are no joke.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on the other side of the city, and then it
Right.
takes you an hour and a half to get there and an hour and a half to get home, and then yeah.
Now, you obviously worked on other shows, and I think Supernatural is very unique in more than one way. One of them being that it's a CW show, but it's not your cliche CW show, especially because it started before the Arrowverse started. So compared to, working for AMC and having the budget of AMC and having the acceptable gore and being able to say things like shit, how does that differ for working with CW versus a show like, AMC, like The Walking Dead?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know all the background from where I was, but sort of the vibe that I got on that show was we were the little show that could. We were the show that was kind of cheap enough that they're just like, fine, just let it go for another season. We don't have something else to put on the air. Just roll Supernatural again. And that just kept happening for 15 seasons. It's what it seems like. Everybody sort of kept the budget down. I mean, I'm talking out of school. I don't know what the actual budgets were, but to me, it sort of felt like that. I didn't feel like we cheaped out on anything. Like the sets were amazing. Jerry Wanick's work on all those sets are just like, I'm thinking about the Men of Letters set. And
oh yeah,
is it season 9 that Osric's character Kevin is in like a boat?
Yes.
Is he hiding out of the boat?
Yeah.
Like
He's
that whole
hiding in the
ship
boat.
was just built on stage, like in a week. There was nothing there, and you come back a week later, and there's a fully dressed interior of a ship, and it was like, oh my god, and it looks old.
Like, I loved Kevin too, man. Kevin was such an unsung hero.
Everybody loved
Kevin.
Kevin.
All these things for the first time. I'll get like texts like, "Oh, they did Bobby wrong."
I'm just sitting there like texting Lauren. I'm like, "Oh my god!"
And so often I have to keep my mouth shut. He's like, "R.I.P. Gabriel." I'm like, "No."
Yeah. It's so sad. Everybody loved Kevin, and everybody was so upset when he died.
Well, he doesn't even know how tragic his story is yet. He hasn't finished the show.
Oh boy. You mean
does Kevin come back? I thought Kevin was dead in see, I never finished watching the show either. I stopped.
There's more to Kevin in season 15.
Is there? Oh, I didn't know.
Wow,
that.
They bring Kevin back. They couldn't just leave Kevin.
I didn't say they brought him back. I just said there's more to him.
Is it Osric playing Kevin?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because sometimes you bring back a character.
Like Meg or somebody. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and Osric's so sweet. Have you guys met Osric?
No, I
No.
would like
Oh, he's lovely.
I've met Crowley and I've met Felicia Day, and that's it. I'm not
I
big on
haven't
like I haven't been to a Supernatural con yet. So there's one coming to Orlando in November, so I intend to go to that. But
Oh,
I'm
good.
also like not big on I guess I feel awkward going up to them and whatnot at the cons, and my husband does not
Mhm.
appreciate me spending money to take pictures with people.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that for sure. I mean,
But
some people do, right? That's their whole, they budget for that for the year, and that's
mhm.
their
Oh,
main
Like,
thing.
and after MegaCon, I've seen some amazing pictures, like the things that people come up
I've
with. I
seen
saw something.
people, like, left MegaCon, they took a picture with Hayden, Ewan, Tom, like, all these and
Oh,
I'm like,
and they have
That's like
phenomenal pictures.
$3,000 worth. I'm
Oh my
like, "My
god.
wife would
Yeah.
murder me."
But
Yeah,
I saw the
exactly.
best picture I saw from because I follow a lot of supernatural channels in the cons, and I saw this girl who was Asian, and she was inside a Busty Asian Beauties magazine.
Ah,
And the picture, Jared was pulling Jensen back in the picture.
that's
I was like,
amazing.
that was like kudos to that girl for making that
We
happen.
had to stop using the busty Asian beauties. That was a
Oh,
big
Oh,
thing.
really?
Yeah, and I think in season 10 they're like, we don't think this is appropriate any longer." It's like, why?
Mhm. Did they ever give a reason for that?
Well, just because it was objectifying Asian women, presumably.
Oh, wow. Okay.
interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
I'm quite
Honestly,
sure.
I didn't even
I hope I'm
notice.
not making that up, but yeah, I remember. I think we had to block out an issue at one point. Like, had to like mask it with something else.
I feel like
That's
Dean's character though was less sex focused later seasons than he was younger seasons, which
Story of my life. Tell me about it.
But, so were you big into the show of Supernatural before you got started on it? Or for
No,
you, when you got
not at
started,
all. In fact, it was so weird. So I started season 8. So season 7 hadn't completed airing when I started in season 8. I'd never heard of the show. Like, up
really?
until about 6 months before I started on it, only because the place that I was working had a Supernatural poster on the wall because they had done some visual effects for it. So I remember looking at it being like, oh my God, look at those pretty boys. That show looks so lame.
Dude, that's why it took me 10 years to get into it.
Right? It's true. It's like, I don't want to watch a show with underwear models,
It's like a
pretending to
romance
be
novel.
exactly pretending to be like deep and philosophical. And then
Mhm.
when I was offered the job on it, I was like, okay, I better go check out the show and watch season 7. I'm like, oh, these guys are funny. Like, these guys are acerbic and smartasses, and they're actually funny. They're nice to look at, but they're funny. Like,
Yeah.
see,
okay,
that's how
I'm
I
okay with
felt
that.
too. For me, I guess it just felt like something really cheesy, and I was just like, I
I
love
think we all
cheesy."
did.
But
I
I
don't know
was
why they
just
market
I
it
don't
like that.
even yeah, like, something about the posters originally, I was just like, I don't know about that." And Lauren kept talking about it, and I was like, "All right." One night I sat down on the couch, I was like, I scrolled Netflix, I went through
Well, and
Hulu, I
his
went through
wife
Disney
watches it,
Plus.
but Carrie had stopped at like season 10, and her and I were talking about it at a Fan X because she came with me to the Ketch and Crowley panel, and she's like,
Mhm.
I need to finish this show. And then so now they're rewatching it, or she's rewatching it with him. But that's the whole thing is like, I was like, I was at a con. I'm like, why do I keep seeing this supernatural stuff? Why? This
Yeah.
is a CW show. It looks very cheesy. I don't
Yeah.
get it. And then I was pregnant and miserable, and I was like, "Well, there's 10 seasons of this. Let me give it
Yeah,
a
I'll keep
shot.
you busy.
I feel like
Exactly.
crap anyways."
It's
Yeah.
funny because at that time it was 10 seasons where
Yeah.
I think I started it in 2016, so I think it was maybe I think season 12 was the first one I watched live.
Yeah.
But I was shocked at how funny it was and how
Yeah.
scary it was and how um perverted it is too.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
I was very surprised by how, like, I guess adult themed it was in a lot of ways. And I guess, like, when it comes down to effects, I didn't realize, like, how gory at sometimes it got. It gets pretty dark
So
at
did you
times.
ever that's a good question though, going with that, with how gory it does get. Were there ever special effects where you were like had to pull it back or
Yeah.
like, make that chopping off the vamp's head a little less excessive?
When I got an opportunity, Mark Malash, my supervisor, head of our department, gave me an opportunity, which was very, very generous of him, to supervise an episode in season 10, maybe 9. It's the episode where the kids go to college, um, and the redhead girl is stalked by a guy who's part electricity. Does that sound right?
Oh my goodness.
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
thinking Electro and Emma and Gwen Stacy
Oh,
now.
geez.
No, she's a
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the Ghost in the Machine quote. And
yes.
it's the
That's the
girl
one.
that's now in Gen V.
Hmm.
Which girl is in Gen V?
There's the one girl in Gen V who can control people is in 2 episodes of Supernatural.
Oh, really?
Was it with the truck?
Yeah, that's the one where the truck
Okay.
drives off the bridge.
I think she's
The
the girlfriend in the truck. I could be wrong. There's so many episodes and
Oh,
they
okay.
reuse actors, but
They
I think
really
she's
It,
the
did.
girlfriend that the navigation tells her to get out of the car.
oh, okay.
Is
Yeah.
that the one or is
I'll
that a
have to go
different
back and
one?
watch that. No, it's the same episode for sure.
Okay.
There's a scene where a kid turns on the stereo and it gets so loud that his head explodes.
Yeah.
So I set up this gag where we had the special effects makeup artist come in, and we set up a face that was very similar, and and by we I mean the special effects makeup artist put these, I think they're called finger condoms, they're just like a tiny little rubber thing in the eye sockets, and then we just pumped in fluid until they exploded in a white goo.
Mm.
And
Whoa.
so we put that on the kid's face, and his eyes just get big, and then they go pop, and then all the goo runs down the side of his face, and it was awesome. But it was just too over the top, and I remember the guys Phil and Todd and everybody in post was just on the phone, just like screaming, like ah! But they're like, it's too much, we're gonna have to pull it back. And there wasn't very many of that. I think violence towards women stuff would get
Flagged.
flagged sometimes ahead of time, right? Sometimes
Mm.
it's during prep and they've read the script and they're like, no, let's change it up and do it differently. Um, Generally, if it was violence against a demon or somebody who wasn't human, then it was okay. But if it
Mm.
was against another human, then there was more issues, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's
That,
sort of
like,
common. That is sort of common.
interesting because, obviously, like, the demons are played by humans, so, like, everybody on the set for the most part is human, and it's so funny that, like, no, but this person is a demon in the show, so they're not
Right.
real in our mind.
Even
But
Then you
though they're
start
just a
having these
human vessel.
somebody out there's having a conversation with a lawyer saying, well, you got to understand they're a meat suit. So that means that the
no,
human is
they're
dead.
Person
And
died
they
months
open their
ago.
mouth and, the
yeah,
smoke comes out and they go away.
the funnest thing about working this business is the weird conversations you have.
Oh, I don't
Well, a
doubt.
human head wouldn't actually tumble like that. It would be more like when somebody gets it's just horrible
Do you have, like,
conversations.
the weirdest conversation you've ever had in regards to effects? Do you have one thing that sticks out to you?
Oh God, what would it be? I don't remember specifically, but I remember a lot of conversations about the guy with his heart thumping out of his chest. That
Oh, yeah.
cartoon
Matt, have
episode
you
where
seen the
that
Looney
whole
Tunes episode
Yeah,
yet?
I think I
no,
have.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
No, you have or you haven't. You
I
don't
think I
he
think you
would
have.
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 Yeah,
Have
he
you
would
Yeah,
have.
seen the
I
Looney
definitely
Tunes? He
have.
shoots the
Yeah.
gun, bang. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna interrogate the cat. Okay.
Yeah.
That scene's hilarious.
Yeah, that was the guy that was from MASH. I don't remember his name now.
I
But
terrible
somebody,
names.
oh, who was it? The writer just tweeted about that yesterday.
Oh, the
Uh,
psychic dude was from
Edland.
MASH?
Edland.
Ah.
No, was it? This is the one where he goes to the old age home and
Yeah,
he
it's
Yeah.
talks
because
to
the
the
guy has,
guy.
like, the psychic abilities where he's, like, creating these things. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
I've seen this
Mm.
one.
So Supernatural was made by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers made it for CW. CW licensed
Right.
it from Warner Brothers. So we're going to do this episode that takes place in a cartoon land. And so we're like, well, obviously we want, Bugs Bunny type cartoon stuff. So let's, Warner Brothers is Bugs Bunny. Let's license, but they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't license Bugs Bunny to be used in Supernatural. So we had to go out and get Woody Woodpecker. It was a Woody
Huh.
Woodpecker cartoon that we had to use. So
Wow.
strange.
Interesting.
They
That's like,
still
yeah, we
gotta
own this guy,
yeah.
but yeah, you can't use him. Like, it's so weird how that plays out.
Yeah,
Right,
go
and then
pay
they had a
Tex
whole
Avery money.
Scooby Doo episode.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, at least I get
so
a good
strange.
Bugs Bunny joke. What does he say? So we're looking for a bug rabbit hybrid. That episode, so there's like a handful of episodes that when you talk to somebody, changing channels, French mistake.
Yeah.
That one is so underrated. That is a fantastic episode and easily in my top 10, 100%. That and Mint Condition are both very underrated.
Which one was mint condition?
Mint Condition, I think it was season 14. It's the one that takes place, it starts in the comic book shop. It's Panthro is the little figurine. Panthro like attacks the guy, and it turns
Oh,
out like the owner of the comic shop who has since passed, it's the time to slice and dice. Now, I
Oh,
know Matt hasn't watched that one
I
yet.
I
haven't
know.
watched it
Well,
either.
yeah,
You're
he's
gonna
he
love that
stopped
one.
I stopped
after.
after 10.
Well, and then there's a statue of Red Hood, and then of course they cut to
Oh,
Jensen because he
Oh,
voiced
yeah,
Red
because
nice.
Hood.
he's
But
he's
what's
Red Hood and he's Batman.
funny, well, I think at the time, I don't think he was Batman until the Long
It wasn't
Halloween,
at the
right?
time.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So in the comic book shop, though, what's funny is it's all DC. Like you don't really see any Marvel because it's CW. But
Oh,
I
right.
always think that's funny that
Oh.
you get all the DC, whatnot. But
I'm
that
surprised
one's a fantastic one.
they didn't do like a Green Lantern or a Green Arrow joke or anything.
Oh, yeah,
That would
yeah.
have been
Yeah, they
funny.
really should have
That would
missed
have
that
been
Or
one.
great.
Flash. Yeah,
Well,
that's
Elise
something
Baby
they would
did
do
make an
too.
appearance in Legends of Tomorrow.
It's true.
Like
Really?
the actual,
Oh,
yeah, the
Yes.
actual car. Like Sarah and the Legends stumble upon the car, and they're filming Supernatural. Like
oh,
the
that's crazy.
show exists in the DC universe.
When I left Supernatural, I went to go work on Lucifer, the first season of Lucifer,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and we were shooting uh, right next door. Literally, it was like right next door. I used to park here, and then I moved over 10 feet, and I was parking there. And so we would talk back and forth with the Supernatural crew a bunch. And that was when they were sort of bringing Lucifer back into their story. And I remember they put a joke about Lucifer. He's like, "What am I going to do? Move to LA and fight crimes?" Which
Yes,
is
in the
exactly.
cage.
Yeah, that's right.
Ah.
Yeah. So I showed that to Tom Ellis when we were on set, and he cracked up. He's like, "Oh my god, that's too funny." Because who does that shit? It's just Supernatural.
Right.
Nobody else does crazy shit like
It's
that.
off the
I mean,
walls.
yeah. And so meta with, some of the stuff that they've just called. I mean, they call out their fans. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
That's true.
Yes.
So
Yes.
with because you worked a total of what, like 24 episodes is what your IMDb page said.
No, I mean, I worked for 3 seasons, so
Oh, you
75
worked for 3
episodes.
seasons.
Yeah,
Oh,
So
I was
what
there
yeah.
was
for
the
8, 9, and 10.
episode that you would say you had the most fun working on?
Oh, the most fun.
You could also just say a
Um,
scene.
Episode 200 was the musical episode, where it was the High School Musical
Fantastic.
type episode. That one was pretty cool, actually, because I've never worked on a musical before or since. So that was pretty cool seeing that. I think Phil Segrisha shot that one too and did a really great job. I That was probably pretty up there. But it's always episodes where we get to go to crazy places and shoot too, right? Like one episode we had to shoot at the sewage place. Like who gets to go and shoot at a sewage place? You know what I mean? It's not pretty, but it's weird to be able to go and do that. Or all the old mansions, like old, $8-10 million houses in the rich part of the city, shooting in those things. A lot of sitting in the woods, though. To be fair, there's a lot of sitting in the woods at night in the rain on that
Hmm.
show.
I have noticed a lot of rain, and I hear that a lot of. I've listened to a few of the Then and Now podcasts, and it's a lot of rain.
A lot of cold nights sitting in the rain, and Jared and Jensen think it's hilarious at 2 in the morning to be goofing off, and everybody's like, "We want to fucking go home. Please stop goofing around." It's going to be funny on the gag reel. Not funny now.
Well, speaking of the gag reels, there's a lot of like practical jokes played behind the scenes and things like that. Were you ever a victim of any of the practical jokes or things of that like nature?
No, not really. Once in a while, they would catch you doing something dumb on camera, or the first AD Johnny Mack, who just passed away last year. Actually, it's very sad. A few really awesome people from that show have passed away now. It's kind of heartbreaking. Johnny would do stuff like I'd go in there for to put a knife in camera, and it's always awkward when you're standing there in front of the camera because although no one's going to see it, the editors are like you're still on camera, and
People are still
sometimes it
going to
feels
see it.
awkward.
Yeah.
Someone's going to see it.
Everybody
It's
looks
not the audience.
beautiful, and then there's you. uh,
Well, they all just did hair and makeup.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, then you like put them in, and you go out and be like, oh wait, we didn't get that. Go back, and then you're back in. Oh no, we didn't get it. You just keep going back and forth until you're like, oh, I know what you're doing. So there was always stuff like that. Yeah, just it was a pretty cool vibe on that show most of the time, to be honest.
It seems like it really does seem like a fun kind of set. Can you walk us through what it took to behead? So this is one of the things my wife, all right, I don't know why this for me. I sit there every time I see like a vampire or somebody get beheaded. My instinctual phrase is, well, that happened too easy. You're not just one
Mm.
swiping a machete through somebody's neck and they're dead.
Unless it's Michonne's katana.
Right. So what can what can you tell us kind of that went behind the scenes for you guys as far as like the beheading scenes of vampires or things like that?
So from our point of view, and this was a few years ago, so things are a little bit easier now than they were then,
Mhm.
budgetarily and technologically.
Oh
But
yeah.
so the way we would shoot a beheading is, I'm going to get a little technical, but I'll just get through it. I think you'll follow. So what we would do is we'd have what's called a static camera for the most part, which is just a camera that's on a tripod, say. Technically, it would be a dolly, but nobody touches it. It stays there. So if that camera doesn't move, you can step people in and out in different takes and then just merge them into one frame later. Do you know what I mean? Like you sort of literally cut
Yeah.
down the middle and add Jensen's, and then this guy's here. So one of my favorite beheadings that we did was the first one we did, which was in the first episode, I think, of 8,
So in
season 8.
Purgatory. I think we
Yeah.
actually talked about this a little bit last time you were on here. Yeah, that was a gruesome one.
Yeah, where they cut off the demon's head against the tree. So that was sort of
Mhm.
the first one we did. So in order to do that, we need one frame of the vampire. So not one frame, but one take of the vampire by himself. Jensen could be like Dean could be in the frame at the same time. So there's two ways to do it. You can either put nothing in Dean's hand and then add a blade later on. So
Hmm.
if there's nothing in his hand, he stands there, the vampire's there, he swings as if he's going to chop the neck off, and then, or chop the head off the neck, and then the actor who's playing the vampire will then give his head a twist like this, and then he'll just fall out of frame. And then we get what's called a clean plate. So everybody steps out and we just get the background by itself. So that way, when we add the blade in, boom, we add the the line on the neck, and then when he does this, we continue his head falling off. So we literally cut out his head, put it on a fake head. Sometimes we would do takes where we'd have a fake head that falls, and then it falls out of frame. We paint in the rest of the tree that was behind him because his head is now missing. So we use our clean frame to paint in the rest of this. We added something called, I think Mark would call it like bologna for the neck stump. And it's just meat. Like it's indistinguishable meat. There's
Yeah.
no trachea, there's no, epiglottis or tongue. It's just meat. And it's just a meat disc. And we would literally just paint that in where his neck would be, and Bob's your uncle. So the head goes boom, and then the body falls out. So sometimes we'll get him to go head this way and then body falls this way. And then
Mm.
that way you sort of have that separation. And then when we compile all that stuff together, it looks like his head has been chopped off.
That's interesting with the knife because I never would have thought that a knife was added later.
Right. So you could do it the other way to do it, and this all depends on how the director wants to shoot it. Is so the vampire actor does his action, boom, he falls out of frame, and then we get Jensen to step in with a blade, a real blade, in the same position. He swings at a mark and hits a mark on a tree, and then you can sort of marry those two together where his blade would go through. So sometimes it's six of one, half dozen of the other. Sometimes you
Mhm.
need to go a certain direction depending on what's going to be easier for the artist and also what the director wants to see.
Was there ever like an effect that you guys had to create that you just could not do, and so it had to go somewhere else, or was everything pretty much like, oh, we got this? What was the hardest thing for you guys to create on set?
I think the hardest are going to be creatures.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
think in those photos that I sent you guys, Lauren, if you saw, there was a big cutout of the dog, that
Yes.
Mhm.
hellhound, I think it was.
Yes.
Because animating a creature is a really special skill.
Mhm.
And we had a lot of generalists on our team, so guys that could do a little bit of everything. But you don't want a generalist doing like a really hero animal that has to walk, even if it's mostly see through. So for some reason, I think we may have gone outside for that one for an animator. I can't remember now. Maybe not. But that was a big challenge. It's that thing, or the flying monkeys in the Oz episode.
Oh my god, that
Mm.
episode was so much fun. My
Did you
mom
enjoy
is
that?
my mom's a massive Wizard of Oz fan.
Oh,
And so when we went to that one and Felicia Day and all the entire crew, it took me a minute to realize what it was, but yeah, that episode to me, because it in that book it's Tanis from Letterkenny, and so I like one of my favorite things about Supernatural
is
is
it really? Are you fucking
yes,
serious?
yes,
How did I not know that?
yes.
Oh shit!
I
Yeah.
live for moments where I'm sitting there watching Supernatural. I'm just like, that's so and so, and
That's
so
what
I'm
he
sitting
kept
there.
doing that when he first started watching. And he's like, "This person's from Letterkenny," and
Yeah,
he's
we
like,
got
"I haven't
Stuart
seen
from Letterkenny,
Letterkenny."
or and
Right.
now like Tanis played in that
Oh
episode
shit! Yeah,
particularly.
of course.
Uh, So to me, like that was a fun episode. My mom is a
Was
massive
that
Wizard of
Dorothy?
Oz fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I that one is one of my standout episodes, believe it or not, for that reason, because the family connection that I have to it. And so it's fun to get to see you kind of be like, yeah, this was really hard to create, and now it's like it's crazy.
Do you remember the Frankenstein episode? The
Yeah,
Frankenstein
I don't think
family?
he's. Are you there?
I don't
He's
I
probably
don't
right
know.
around there
I'm
because
on
Dean has the
season
mark.
10, episode 8 right now.
So you're
So
probably really close to
I'm
that.
Really
probably
close to
close.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
I
super close.
really,
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the episodes that some people didn't like, but I really thought that story was very interesting, and I loved how they
Mhm.
brought that in.
I liked it too. Yeah, I thought it was fun. I thought all the actors were great. But one of the young guy on that is Connor Price. Do you know who that
Ooh,
is?
no.
If you're ever on TikTok, you've probably seen his rap videos come up. He does he always does TikToks where he's in
The
the room
younger
and then
brother?
he walks into the room. Yeah, and then at the end he gets shot.
Oh,
Dean shoots him in the forehead.
yeah, I hated that.
Um, but he's an amazing rap artist. Like he's like
Huh.
world
Wow.
class.
Okay.
He does a spin the globe thing and he picks a spot on the globe and then raps it.
Oh my gosh, my husband showed me his videos before.
That's
I haven't
Same
seen
guy.
these. That's,
I did
I don't
not
know
put
how
Same
that
guy.
together.
I didn't either
What?
until I was
Wow.
sitting there one day and he said something about Supernatural. I'm like, oh, yes, I remember his face now. Like he looked super
Oh.
familiar, but I couldn't place it. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
his
he
episode. I
stared
mean,
at
it was
his face for 1,000
heartbreaking
hours.
with
Yeah,
him, and that was something he wouldn't have done if he didn't have the mark. Wow! Oh
that's
my
right.
god, that's so funny.
Yeah. It's really
See,
cool.
Supernatural's connected to everything.
It is.
It
It
really
really
is.
is. It
Which
really is.
we did start a 4 degrees of supernatural on our podcast
Yeah.
for that reason, because I would so often be
Cool.
sitting there texting Lauren being like, hey, this person was in this movie, this person was this, like Aldous Hodge, who just got done playing Hawkman in the DC universe.
Mhm.
He played in a couple episodes of
Really?
Yeah, he's in
Supernatural.
season 2. That was early on.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
he was more recently. That's how I figured out that was him. And then of course Gordon was in This Is
Black
Us
Panther.
and Black Panther, and so one of my favorite things
Bella's
is
Walking
just
Dead.
to
She's
go through and
Martha. So Bella and John Winchester are Martha and Thomas Wayne.
yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah,
In
Oh, wow. I
in the
didn't know
Ben
the Dark
Affleck.
Knight or
Yeah.
the
Ben
Batman v
Affleck.
Affleck.
Superman. Yes, the Affleck,
That's cool.
which
yeah.
love those movies, but
And
Yeah.
And
Jensen's
that's just going by actors. Like you start going by like cast or like crew, you're connected to like everyone from everything.
Well, you've mentioned Phil Secretia a couple times, and obviously that's The Boys.
Mhm.
So I feel like when you were talking about the scene where, you had to hold back with the eyes exploding, he's got to love that he doesn't have to hold back anything now.
Totally. Yeah, that's Stefan Fleet's the supervisor on that one. Who I know Stefan. We worked on a show called Timeless. I helped him out on the
Timeless.
pilot of Timeless. I came in and we sort of not
Well,
really
that's
kept in
another
touch, but
Eric Kripke one, right?
that was a Kripke one as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where he started working with Kripke, and then he pulled him over to The Boys. Oh, that show's so good.
It's so good.
So
Well,
good.
yeah, because I was already reading it and watching it when I found out Jensen was going to be Soldier Boy, and right away I was like, "There's no way Kripke's going to do the comic book version of Soldier Boy if Jensen's playing him. Like, there's no way." And
does he start naked in that too?
No,
Oh,
he
okay.
pees
He
his
gets
pants in
naked.
that, and then Butcher
Yeah.
kills him. So I was
Oh.
like, this is not going to be the same Soldier Boy. I feel like Soldier Boy could not be more, because we actually got to interview Derek Robertson, who is one of the co-creators of the comic book The Boys.
Oh, cool.
And we talked about how different they are. He said Huey is that was the one he said is the most accurate to the comic, which made sense to me. But a lot of the characters are very accurate to the comic. But like Soldier Boy, like when he got cast, I'm like, plus there's more than one version of Soldier Boy. It's kind of
okay.
like, taking up the mantle kind of thing. But the similarities I feel like are how when Paul Reiser's character is like, he didn't storm Normandy, he didn't do this, he was a poster boy. It was kind of like that, where like the Soldier Boy in the comics didn't do shit, he was just a poster boy. They're obviously mocking Captain America, but outside of that, I mean, Soldier Boy was still a badass.
Yeah.
So, or maybe it's just my skewed terrible
they were going to make a film version. I'm sure you probably all know this stuff. A film version of The Boys 10 years ago or so.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you know who was going to be cast as Huey? Simon Pegg.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because they drew
Yeah.
The Boys was really originally
Well,
drawn for
Garth
Simon Pegg.
based him
Yeah.
on Simon Pegg, and then Simon Pegg was like, "Oh, this is awesome." And then because he told us the whole story of them, they're like, "You need to get permission from him for us to move forward or whatever."
And then
But
they did. And he was probably like, "Fuck yes, let's do
yeah,
this." Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
he was.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I love
Because
that
he
they
was
made
the
him his dad. It's such a fun nod to the comics.
that totally is, and his accent just makes me
Yeah.
laugh every time when he does the American accent.
But Huey could not look more different than his comic book counterpart, but he acts exactly the same.
Oh,
which,
yeah.
yeah, it's funny. But shout out to Jack Quaid. I know he's a nepo baby, but he's a good actor, man.
I did not know he was a nepo baby at all. I didn't know that
That's
until
Dennis
like 3 weeks ago.
Quaid's. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't put it together, and he does great. He seems really down to earth from what I've seen
Yeah.
in interviews and stuff. He seems really cool.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, that
so
show's
good.
awesome. So I've been rewatching it through the eyes of somebody else who's on YouTube reacting.
Oh,
So they're
really?
reacting for the first time, and so I'm watching their reactions. I'm like, oh, I know what's coming. This is gonna be great. Yeah, watching reaction videos is my favorite thing to do.
So
What
Go ahead, Lauren. Go.
I was just gonna say, I love telling people that the comic book is worse than watching their jaw drop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
like so working in this space where you get to create the things that we all get to watch, right? Like Lauren and I just get to show up and we get to watch. Does that make you kind of like, do you still make it a point to go out there and watch like a lot of the things that are being pushed out? Or are you like, oh man, and or is it one of those things like when you watch, you're like, oh, thinking about the things that
Take
go
you
on
out of
behind
the
the
moment.
scenes and just take you out of the moment kind of deal?
Yeah, both. It has to be really good for me to stay in the moment. Like it has to like True Detective, the new True Detective season. I'm
Oh,
loving,
that whole
and
series is so good.
I'm in it. Like I'm really in it when I'm watching it. Sometimes jumping it sometimes, but I really enjoyed it. So it's hard. It's really hard because as a creator, I want to create. So watching stuff that's already been created, I just get really anxious. Why am I not creating?
Yeah.
Why am I not doing that? I should be. Why am I watching this when I should be out making stuff? And then I just go onto TikTok and then don't make stuff.
You just
Can
described
relate.
every
Honestly, I can
person
relate
in
to
modern
this. Yes.
society.
Yeah.
As somebody who like wants to write comic books, I'm like, why am I not doing this? And I'm like, I'm just gonna go and watch videos as to everybody else is doing good things.
Yeah, exactly. So that, but my wife hates watching movies with me. I mean, she works in the business as well, but she's not on set, so she does set deck. She's working on
Oh, right on, yeah.
Last of Us season 2 right now, and
Ah.
she's really enjoying that. But she'll look at it for set dressing and how did they do this room? How did they layer the dressing and stuff? Whereas I'm thinking of it more of a technical basis, I guess,
Right.
as to how
Right.
how the visual effects are done and dialogue and that sort of stuff.
She's like,
So it
Ryan,
doesn't
just
matter
shut up
what-
and enjoy the movie.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
honestly, it doesn't matter what career you go into. Something like Matt can't watch military stuff without critiquing it. I'm an attorney, so I can't watch law shows without critiquing it. It's
Totally.
so we're all screwed in some way or another as far as
Yeah,
entertainment
exactly.
goes.
You can only watch the opposite of that, right?
Right.
Yeah,
I can't
but
watch
that's what makes-
any legal dramas. They are the worst.
Yes.
Unless
Yeah,
it's my
anything-
cousin Vinny.
Oh yes, yeah. Anytime there's anything that's like military related, I'm like, well, that wouldn't happen. Or like, why is like this dude's uniform messed up? This thing, that, or the other. And it's just one of those. God, just shut up. Just like enjoy what's happening on screen right now.
There was
I mean, it takes you out.
Yeah.
a guest star on Supernatural. I won't say what season. That was a quote unquote Marine in his previous life, and now he's an actor. And he was a bit of, I don't know, my personal opinion, he was a bit of a blowhard and a bit of a,
It's the Marines. They usually are.
yeah, but usually they're pretty cool, and this guy's kind of not. Anyways, came to set, had a gun in his hand, and was like teacupping the bottom of it and like holding it not in a proper manner. And I remember Jensen was like, "The fuck is this guy? He's supposed to be a Marine." And then he was like, "Stunt double, you can do all the scenes here because this is not feeling right."
Are they
Just
the
had
crayon
a weird
eaters?
feeling.
Yes, the Marines eat the crayons. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We have a local brewery who was opened by veterans, and they
Yeah.
named a beer the Crayon Eater.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
So
awesome.
yeah,
It's
I'm in the Air Force, so to me, I'll talk
Right.
shit about because I have the cushest life, right? But that's hilarious to be like,
I won't
oh,
be talking shit about any of them. I have no right to
Same, I
talk shit
haven't
about
earned the
any of
right.
them.
he was holding the gun wrong, like stuff like that's
Yeah.
hilarious to me. It's like, okay, bud, especially the guys who are all about like them big blow, that kind of stuff. So I
Yeah,
love hearing stories like
you're an
that.
elite special forces type person, and you can't hold a gun, right? I don't know about that. That
Yeah,
smells like
exactly.
could smell like something to me. But anyways,
Somebody who
that's
wrote
just
a
my
book.
dumb opinion. I don't really know anything about it. So
No,
So
please
I
I
don't
know
I'm
come
we've
with
after
you.
me.
we've kept you here. I mean, I could keep you here all night. But what is, I would say, with special
I have
effects?
another beer, so you have take your time.
Oh,
Thunder
I'm
Chicken
gonna go.
from Parallel
I got another
49.
soup juice in my fridge. Uh, what is, I would say, something that would surprise us laymen who have no knowledge of special effects? What would surprise us the most?
Visual effects and special effects are different departments. Visual effects does the CGI type stuff. Special effects will blow shit up, or special
Ooh.
effects will do like blood pumps of blood shooting out of somebody's neck, or um, blood bags exploding into Kevin's face,
Poor Kevin.
or that girl. I think I sent you the video of the girl getting sprayed on her
So,
too.
like,
She was screaming,
whenever
screaming, screaming.
did any actors or actresses, like, whenever they had to read a scene, there was like, "Oh, I'm getting sprayed with something." Was there any like, "Oh God," or did they really lean into that moment?
Jensen hates it.
Oh, really?
Jensen does not
Okay,
want blood on his face. He doesn't have to after 10 seasons. He's like, no, figure out a different way. I'm tired
that's
of this
fair.
because it's sticky. It's literally corn syrup with red food coloring. So you're
Yeah.
just covered in corn syrup all day.
Is it true that the water has lube in it, so it shows up on TV?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it
wow.
can. It
I
can
honestly
have like
thought that
baby oil or something,
was fake. I've seen
or
multiple things of
glycerin.
that. Ah.
Glycerin's a big one, or yeah, sometimes they have some weird lubey stuff for the goopy things. A lot of weird things that people have to eat are going to be made out of like gelatin, like colored gelatin and stuff.
Oh, gross. I'm a
Yeah.
texture
So if
person,
you
so
have
for
like
me, that's
a
ugh.
vegetarian or a vegan on set, are there special things you can do, or are they just shit out of luck?
No, no, they'll just make something. They'll make meat out of gelatin or whatever pectin or whatever is vegetable friendly.
Huh.
Hmm.
And we make that. We try to do that. So they'll contact the actor beforehand and say, "Do you eat meat? Do you have any allergies? You're going to be eating
Oh,
on camera. Are you okay eating this sort of thing?" Yeah,
so they
All right.
actually like cater to the people and ask them. I just kind of figured it was
yeah.
like, you're lucky to be here. This is what you have to do.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are some producers that would do that, but not on the shows I
But
worked on.
also after 10 seasons, you kind of, like you said, Jensen's like, I've been here for 10 seasons. I'm not doing, figure out a
I don't
different
have
way.
to
Like,
do this crap
you kind of
anymore.
have paid your dues to a certain degree.
100%. Yep. Oh yeah, I don't
And
blame them at all.
I
That's
wouldn't
what you
blame them
should do.
whatsoever. Like, yeah,
And they
like,
were both Jared and Jensen were the kindest, the most humble, great people to work with. Like I have no bad things to say about them. Um, the show wouldn't have gone for that long if they weren't awesome. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Because I've worked on shows that have been just as good, if not better, that will not go further because their cast are assholes. It's
yeah.
really the truth. And
No,
what are you going to do? Get rid of Sam and Dean and have a show? No, probably not.
it could have been the
Right.
Kevin show. No, you're not going to have that show. You're right. You're right.
Well, they did a couple attempts at a
They
backdoor
did.
pilot, and neither of
Yeah.
those took off.
So I was
I
watching that
enjoyed
episode
the.
and I told Carrie, my wife, and I was like, this is
Oh,
definitely,
that's right.
I was
And you
sitting there, I was
texted me
like,
that, and
this
I was like, it was
feels like a
supposed to be.
backdoor pilot. I was like, this feels like they're setting up something else. And it was that episode with the vampire nightclub and the Freddy Krueger claw man running around. And I was like, this feels like and I texted
Mhm.
Lauren and she's like, it's because it was supposed to be a backdoor pilot. And I was like, see, I
Mhm.
knew that. Sometimes you can just
Mhm.
tell.
I really
Bloodlines, I think it
liked
was
that one.
called.
I was
I think it was called that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were certain
Um,
times.
yeah, we put a lot of extra work into that episode too. I think we shot for longer than 8 days, maybe like 16 or 20 days.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
A lot was put into that. A lot of time and energy was put into that. And then for
I
it to
thought it
not
was
go, it's
such
crazy.
a unique idea too.
I did too, and I thought the cast was fine. Like I thought they were good. You, I mean, it's you don't get Jared and Jensen very often coming through your doors. Um,
Hmm.
like those guys are really above average in the what they bring to a character for sure. For sure, what they brought to Sam and Dean, but other characters too. They're very cool and very easy to work with and understand the process. So when you're starting out with young actors, it's not easy. It's not easy. You need
Hmm.
special people. And maybe these guys are. I don't know what they've gone on to do, but it's tricky. It's a tall order.
Yeah. The one girl, the werewolf, I know I haven't seen this show, but she's on the like Manifest or something on
Oh,
Netflix
yeah,
because
Manifest, yeah.
I
Oh,
see the
cool.
trailers and I was like, she looks familiar.
I think I've heard her name a few times mentioned around. I don't know what the guys are doing. I'll have to
It
look it up. I
it
should.
was an interesting I thought there was potential there, so it is interesting that they didn't pick it up, especially at the height of Supernatural's power, but
Well,
that's
I wanted. Sorry to interrupt, Lauren. I wanted
you're
the.
good.
I always dubbed it the orphanage, which would have essentially been like Jody Mills and
The
Sheriff
Wayward Sisters.
Hanscom and the Wayward Sisters, and bringing people into the fold and running their own organization. I always imagined they'd find like another, man of letters somewhere and
yeah.
start their own thing. And I think they did try to do that. I think they had
Mhm.
another. I think I did go back and actually watch that one. It's probably the only episode I've seen. But I really love those people. I love those characters. I love those actors.
I
Um,
love Claire's one of my favorites.
yeah, she was
She's the
great.
teenage girl version of Dean. And when
Hmm.
she
Oh,
got
yeah.
cast for Cassie Lang, I was very excited. I was like, "Oh, she's
Hmm.
gonna kill it."
Hmm.
And she did. That movie got a lot of flack, but I thought the movie was great. It was a fantastic comic book movie if you're familiar with comic books,
No,
and she killed the role, and I can't wait to see her come back.
Yeah,
yeah, she's
same.
talented. They were all
Mhm.
they were all really good.
Right.
Um, and I would love to see that. I'd still love to see that. But,
Yeah.
Oh, and she's in
Well,
the new Frankenstein movie, funny enough, with
oh,
Jodie's son from the Disney Channel, Zach
yeah,
and
it's
Cody.
Cole Sprouse, okay?
There you go.
cool
Yes,
stuff.
I'm seeing that movie tomorrow, Lisa Frankenstein.
Oh,
Okay, well,
cool.
there you go. You got
Yeah.
Claire in it. Yeah, both of Jodie
See?
Mills'
4 Degrees of
adopted
Supernatural,
children. Or
man, I'm
I've
telling
never
you.
watched Zach and, and Cody,
Me neither.
That was
so
past
I
your
don't know if
time,
it's her
but
adopted kids. Well, I don't think I let Kaylee watch it because I saw like one scene and the kids were like mouthing off to the grown-ups, and I'm like, you're not watching that.
Oh yeah.
But
how
some
dare
of the
they?
Disney Channel shows, the kids were just little smart
Yeah.
asses, and my kids wasn't watching that. But
One
yeah,
thing
I
I'm
love
I'm
Jodie
happy
Mills.
that I've never had to work on a kids Disney show. That I think that would be
Yeah.
tough.
I feel that'd be
I think that would be
hard.
tough.
Well, I saw an interview with her, with the actress who played Jodie Mills, where she said that the kid was supposed, because it was the twins that were
Yeah.
in Big Daddy, and they were in a bunch
Oh,
of, they
okay.
were Ben from Friends. I don't know what their real names are, and they were supposed to make a fat joke about her when she was pregnant, and the kid that was acting was like, "I'm not going to do that to her," and the kid stood up for her
Oh,
and
yeah,
said,
that
"Right,
came out
that's
not
Oh,
too long ago.
funny."
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
So yeah,
oh,
these
that's
jokes
sweet.
weren't the kids weren't being the asses; it was the writers, I guess. But
That'll happen. Well, usually producers more than writers, but yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Well, Lauren, as we do wrap up, why don't you go ahead, any final questions you would love to know about your baby?
About my baby. Oh, is that a pun? Um,
Yes.
I mean, again, yeah, I could keep you here all night, but I guess my last question is really, I know that you're still working on things that aren't just supernatural and that aren't just
Yeah, you were
your
just
comic
shooting
book
a
as
couple weeks
well.
ago, I saw on Twitter. You, were out there middle of the night shooting some things, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us about
Yeah.
whatever recent projects you have coming up because you're doing more than
Um,
just special effects these days.
trying to stay busy. I did a Disney or ABC Hulu show last year called Death and Other Details. I was on as the main supervisor for most of that until post. That just came out recently. I still haven't seen it. I just did an action film on Vancouver Island called Viper, which
Ooh,
stars Jonathan Rhys Meyers, if you know him. If you
okay.
remember that show, The Tudors, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, he's in it, and there, a few other great guys are in it. It's sort of like a war action type low budget thing. That was fun. We shot that for a couple weeks over there over Christmas, and then I don't know what I'm doing next. I just got an email today about doing post production on a couple movies for somebody, so we'll see what happens with that. I'm trying to get a couple features off the ground right now. Just read a script that I really really like, and I might try to option. And yeah, that's sort of me right now. So we'll see what comes. Hopefully, in the next little while, we can do something fun.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
we look forward to seeing what you do. Like I said, I always love seeing some behind the scenes things that you drop on Twitter. And Yeah, man. If let people know where they can make first of all where they can find your comic books again, and then also
Yes, that's a
where they
big
can
one.
find you in general.
Yeah, follow me Ryan_Curtis on X, Twitter, and then read Slums of the Empire City on Global Comics website. It's the best place to find it.
We'll put the link in the bio.
With
And when I
all
say
the
we, I
the
mean Matt will put
episode,
the
it'll
link
be
in the
me.
bio.
All my see, like you, I do some post production work, but it's not nearly as good. It's
Mine's all
just
I'm research, he's post.
yes.
Hey, good team, good team.
We do very well, but Ryan, we seriously, man, really appreciate you coming on chat. And like I said, we could have talked for another couple hours plus. So
Another
I
15
think there
seasons.
there might be some more in our future, especially as you
Maybe
continue to
when
create some really awesome stuff.
you two finish the show, then you can come
Oh,
back and we can have a casual discussion.
that means I'm on the hook for watching another 100-something episodes.
See, you're putting pressure on this man, and then
Hey, I put pressure on you for years and you finally watched. And look how
Funny
much it
story. I
changed your
actually
life.
I did go on Netflix to try and watch a couple episodes to refresh myself. It's not on Canadian Netflix anymore.
Oh
what?
Yeah. Yeah,
no.
I searched Supernatural and it was like, oh, do you mean all these things? I'm like, no.
No, what
So
are you
I'm not
Oh
talking?
sure what's up with
wow.
that. Yeah, I might have to get a VPN going.
That's weird.
Yeah, the day that
Yeah,
happens, I'll be on Amazon buying all the
I guess I
DVDs,
got
I
to
guess.
finish before they take it off our Netflix too. But
Hey, you know that? Sorry, one last trivia thing. You know they had to change the music on Netflix.
I heard on season
yeah,
1.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't know if
That was
that was one.
so I want to buy season 1 because I've heard the music is phenomenal.
Yeah,
And
well, they
but
got
it
ACDC
makes
in the first episode. They're doing Back in Black ACDC pumping when the guys drive off. Then I watched it on Netflix. I'm like, wait a
oh.
minute, that's not ACD. What? And then
Don't they do
that's what
that
I
in the
asked.
first episode of like season, or maybe it's the first episode after they fix Baby after it gets hit by the truck? I feel like they're doing that. They're playing that.
I'm quite sure it
Something.
was episode one. I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but
I
I'm quite
haven't
sure
seen the
episode one.
DVDs at all,
Oh, there you go.
so I'm not going to question you at all on that. But
Yeah,
I've
get the
wanted to
get the
buy them.
Blu-rays.
But it makes complete sense because that was, I mean, streaming in 2005, Netflix was mailing me DVDs.
That's they were, yeah. That's
So
true.
there were no laws or contracts or anything in
Yeah,
that regard.
exactly.
Right.
That's
So they
I
had to
find
go
that
back
so
and
interesting.
they had
Yeah.
to go back and redo all the music.
Man,
But
That's
I
not
still, when
cheap.
I hear that
that's
song, I
not
still
cheap. It's
associate it.
very time consuming. Yeah, that's very true.
To go back and open up all those edits,
Yeah.
right? Like you
When I
use it
heard they
on
had,
a
go ahead.
no, it's just you have to go like, oh yeah, we edited that 10 years ago on that Avid machine that nobody uses anymore, and you have to
Yeah.
try and get all the resources and pull all those. I mean, a TV show has like 10,000 cuts in it, right? With how many sound effects?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, anyways. But that was my last bit of trivia.
No.
But I heard they
but-
had "Don't Fear the Reaper" on the Reaper episode when the Reaper's like chasing the people, and the
Yeah.
one with Rita. So I need to buy that. It's just one of those.
Yeah.
It's like it's hard to justify
Physical media
buying
is
it
the way
when
to
it's
go
on
now.
Netflix.
When places like Best Buy are getting rid of it, it's getting harder. So I still am a big believer in physical media. Pick that up.
I'm agreeing with you. I know lots of actors that have done shows or directors that have done shows, and it disappears from streaming, and they don't even have a copy.
Well, that's what I'm
They
saying.
don't have
Like,
a physical copy of the work that they've done.
look at the. I mean, I'm not trying to point fingers, but Batgirl, for example, was a very good example of a recent movie that was shot, was ready to go, and then they decided that no, and so nobody's gonna could see it. The actors, actresses who spent like Brendan Fraser of all people was I was very excited to see his Firefly, and they'll never get to see that cut. We'll never get to see that cut, and it's one of those things. So make sure to physical media, man. I'm a big believer in that, whether it's comics, whether it's your movies, whether it's your TV. I've got boxes
I
of
like the books
DVDs
in my hand.
that I will never get rid of for this reason right here. Like streaming may be convenient, but it's not the be all end all. You never know when you're going to need it. So
Hey, we have
And there's a
hurricanes,
huge-
and I'm pulling out that DVD player.
it's true.
And there's huge revenues to be made, especially when you just start doing specialty box sets,
Yeah.
releases, and you start adding other, really interesting things, booklets and behind the scenes photos and that sort of stuff. There's money
For sure.
to be made.
There
And
is.
on the streaming front, it had everyone known, Warner Brothers had known how popular Supernatural would have been on Netflix, they probably would have paid to license the proper music for streaming.
Without a doubt.
But they didn't think it was going to be that popular. So they're like, well, it's cheaper for us just to record it with
Redo it.
ordinary music than it would be to go back and. But had they
Little
known that
did
they were going to
right?
get more
When I
viewers
heard they
on there.
never had Zeppelin because it was too expensive, but that's
Yeah.
like Dean's favorite band.
If I remember, it's like 150 grand or 200
Oh
grand
my
an episode to use the song for 30 seconds. Yeah, it was like crazy.
wow.
I
A
feel like they
lot.
should have done it just once. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
I don't know what the budget of a show is, but
Didn't they do it in the last season? No,
did they? They might have.
I
I
feel like
don't
they
know
might
all
have.
the. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Immigrant Song or something. I thought
yeah.
maybe not.
I know they used. It was funny because I didn't know Radio Company until recently. Maybe like a friend introduced me to Radio Company like a year and a half ago, and I love it. I was putting Matt to sleep in the car last week playing it, but I love country music and chill music and whatnot. So I really loved Radio Company, and then I'm watching season 15, and I'm like, this is Jensen singing while he's chopping off a vamp's head.
Oh, really? That's so funny. That's really
So they're
great.
playing Sounds of I think Someday from Radio Company in a scene, and he's just chopping off
Yeah.
some kid's head. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, not necessarily that, but Phil Segretia is a huge music guy, really, really big music
Mm.
guy.
Yeah.
So that's where all those like really cool pulls. Well, I shouldn't say that there's a music supervisor as well, but anything that Phil's involved with in that regard, there's always really cool music that goes along with it.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Thanks to this show and Guardians of the Galaxy, I listen to more
Yeah.
70s music than I ever
isn't that
thought
funny?
imaginable.
That's great?
Well, my Spotify is like, you like dad rock.
You do.
Totally.
Divorced Dad Rock.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean, who knew?
listening
I
to
did. Yeah.
Impala Mix. Yeah,
Yep. It's all music from before I was born, but apparently that's what I
perfect.
listen to now.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, thank you again, man. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. Thank
We'll
you
have
for
to have
having me.
you. We'll have you on again soon. Yeah. Good
That
luck with
sounds
the
great.
move.
Thank you.
Hopefully everything goes smoothly with that, and we'll be chatting again here soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, and good luck. Good luck finishing up to season 15.
Yeah.
Don't
You
cry when
too.
you get to the end. I
I
don't want to spoil it, but they all die. Everyone's dead at the end.
I don't.
Everyone's
I
dead.
don't feel like it's going to be a happy ending for at least half
Let's
the
just
people.
say my
so,
last rewatch, I skipped the last 2 episodes
Oh,
It's like-
really?
yeah.
Yeah.
and just went
Um,
straight to episode 1.
and have fun. Are you both going to the Supernatural Con? Matt, are you going
So
to it
she's
as well?
going to the Orlando one. I know
Yeah,
that
which
there
is
is
local for
one
me.
in DC, which is 2 hours from me in September. I would like to try and make that. I don't know if I will be able to, because now all of a sudden it's become my dream to get to talk to Jensen or Jared or both and just be like, hey, man, like more than anything,
I
I
want
just
to
want
do
to be like, hey,
karaoke with
Jensen,
Garth.
I really enjoy your beer. Like, thanks for making really
Oh,
good
yeah.
beer.
Yeah.
And just
That's
be like,
the
hey,
dream, to talk to him
thanks
about
for
beer. Yeah.
giving my wife and I something to get to watch and bond
Yeah.
over, kind of thing. Like not one of those like, oh my God moments, but like, hey, just a thank you. And so who knows? Hopefully so.
Try.
Ryan, do you
I
ever go
think
to
you'd
them?
really enjoy it. I have. Yeah, I've gone to the one here in Vancouver about 3 times. It's next level. Like it's really
Yeah. Oh yeah.
special. It's very cool.
I've seen
Everyone
videos.
is just so awesome, and like it's just a really warm. This is the supernatural fandom I'm talking about. A warm and inviting kind of atmosphere. It was cool for us because we felt like rock stars, right? Working on
Yeah.
the show, and everyone was like, "Oh, we want your autograph." You're like, "You don't want my autograph."
Me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring Slums of Empire City if you're going to one and have
that
you
would be
sign
cool.
that.
Come to the Vancouver one, and I'll meet you there.
Ooh, that'd
But
be
if you
fun.
get a chance, try and see if you can do podcasts from there. And you can probably get some people, at least for sure, fans to come and
I
guest and
would
talk about their experiences and what that's
absolutely
meant.
love that.
Have you seen? Sorry, I know we're trying to wrap it up. Have you seen the Supernatural Convention documentary?
No.
Yeah. So Jared and Jensen's
Thought I was a
quote unquote
fan.
bodyguard guy and his
Oh,
brother
Tiny.
what was his name? No,
Well, he's
that's not his
Tiny
name.
in season 2 or something.
Cliff. Oh, is he really? Oh, is he in
Yeah,
there?
well, he's in the episode where they go to jail.
Oh, okay, cool. That's Cliff,
Yeah.
the same guy. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Cliff and his brother did a documentary on the fandom, and it's really worth a watch. It's pretty cool. And they talk
that's
to all
awesome.
the actors and what Supernatural's meant to them and how it's affected their lives and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's really worth going. I think you'd come away feeling a lot different about Supernatural, but in a good way.
Mm.
Right.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
actually just bought a book at MegaCon this
You
past
did,
weekend called
yeah.
The Psychology of Supernatural. And I started it
Oh,
this morning. I'm only a few pages in, but Lucifer, Mark Pellegrino, does like the intro to it. And the first chapter is about the psychology of the fandom. And they
oh,
instantly talk
cool.
about how,
Who is
and Mark
that? Who is
Shepard,
that by? Is that by what's her name?
no,
Fangasm.
it's a dude. His name's, I
Oh.
think, Dr. Travis Langley.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool.
So his first book was The Psychology of Batman, and he's done Into the Spider-Verse and he's done The Walking Dead, actually.
Oh wow.
And he was at MegaCon. We got to meet him, and then he did a panel on Spider-Man. But when I saw that, I was like, this is such a fantastic concept. And right away, he goes into the family dynamic of it and how supernatural fandom is not a fandom. It's the SPN family.
Right.
And how at first, people who were obsessed with a celebrity or a show, it was bad. It was, detrimental to them, and they're kind of like shifting it. I literally started it, I think, an hour before we started podcasting,
Gotcha.
and then my son needed 5 more snacks, but
Right.
I'm really looking forward to finishing it. But
Oh, that sounds interesting. And yeah, I think it's absolutely true. It's a weird, weird in the best possible way, subset of people that have just come together over this one thing, and it's
Right.
pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's something special going on for sure, even after it's passed and maybe coming
Right.
back. Who knows?
Who knows? But I mean, my friends and I that are big into it, none of us got into it until a few years ago. So
Well, since Netflix, right?
And I'm still not
Yeah.
in Lauren's Supernatural group chat, so it's okay.
because you haven't finished it.
You know what? Spoilers.
It's
That's what Jensen said right when season 10, before I was leaving, actually. I think it was right when I was leaving. He was getting ready to direct, and he said before Netflix, life was just cool. Like he could go walking around, go grocery shopping, do his normal thing. Maybe 1 or 2 people a week would be like, "Oh my God, you're that guy." And he's like, after Netflix, it was just like every day, every time he'd go out.
Oh, I
like,
don't
my
doubt
God,
it,
you're
yeah.
the guy from that Netflix show. So
No.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Well, 2 of our friends though watched it during COVID, and my other friend and I will make references, and they're like, "We were drunk all of 2020. We don't remember it."
Yeah, I can
You need
relate.
to
That
rewatch
sounds
it.
good. That's funny.
Well,
Cool.
thank you one more time. Everybody
guys.
out there, Hobbs Geek News, that's where you're going to find us. Podcasting, social media, that's the easiest way to find us. Go ahead, subscribe, all that good stuff. GalaxyCon Richmond's coming up. I will be doing a panel there on Batman and also Working Press, and then also AwesomeCon Washington, D.C. The week before GalaxyCon Richmond, I will have a panel on the MCU, and we'll also be there Working Press. So my wife may be mad at me, but you guys come up and saying hi to us makes it all worth it. Thank you guys for listening. Ryan, thank you again. And we'll see everybody again soon. Cheers.